Nothing to worry about in the new Expropriation Act. This is not so bad. It is just a way to give an embodiment to the contents of the Constitution, Article 25(3). The previous Expropriation Act was outdated in any way. We needed to get it in step with the new Constitution. These are all the excuses farmers are offered when the new expropriation law was signed off last week by President Ramaphosa. And while certain organizations, politicians, political parties, especially the strongest ones in government, are trying to appease us that we have no risk of losing our assets, our livelihoods at nil compensation, we have a kind of a deja vu, because it has already happened. We have seen this movie before. And so much is similar. The first expropriation at less than market-related compensation already happened in April 2018. It was the farm Akkerland of the Steenkamp family in Limpopo. But the story started way before then. There was a land claim, or actually there were 3 land claims on that property. And it was very hard for the Land Claims Commissioner to do the research to see which one was the valid claimant. None of them were, said the court. But in the run-up to the expropriation, the Steenkamp family was tormented, threatened all the time that they will be expropriated without compensation. And the Steenkamps didn't think that much of it, because they felt that they were protected by the Constitution. Then, in December 2017, at its policy conference in Nasrec, the ANC passed a resolution to change the Constitution to allow for expropriation without compensation. Fortunately, that effort was stopped in Parliament when the motion could not get the required 2/3 majority vote. But already at that Nasrec conference, 4 ministers in the ANC referred to a list of properties, 196 of them, which were earmarked to be expropriated without compensation. And in the following weeks, throughout January, February, and March 2018, 4 more ministers referred to this list. Then AfriForum leaked a list. On that list, there were 196 properties. Number 1 on that list was the farm Akkerland in Limpopo, on the northern side of the Zoutpansberg. There where a new special economic zone was planned. For us as farmers, when we checked this list, we immediately noticed that 90% of these farms have mineral rights on them. And of course, we understood what this was all about. But the ANC denied the authenticity of this list. You've got the wrong list, they said to AfriForum. Not only that, some of the oldest voices for farmers in the country also had media conferences in which they lashed out at AfriForum for irresponsibly leaking out a list on which they said certain properties were already the subject of a transaction. And now these transactions were cancelled. As Limpopo farmers, we questioned the morality of this approach. How can you pass on the risk of being expropriated without compensation to an unsuspected buyer? We felt no one should be angry with AfriForum for leaking the list. You should be angry with the one who compiled that list. And lo and behold, on the day before Easter weekend, on that Thursday, shortly before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the officials pitched up at Akkerland and handed the letter of expropriation to the Steenkamp family. Not completely without compensation, but at more or less 20 to 25% of the value of the farm, as it was recommended by various professional valuers. Now, that act determined that you are no longer the owner of the property from the moment you received that letter. So the Steenkamps approached us in organized agriculture, desperately asking for advice and assistance. They were given 7 days to vacate the farm and to hand over the keys. Now, Akkerland was a 2,000 hectare game farm. How do you remove all your wildlife in 7 days if the first 4 of those days are public holidays? It's impossible. Where do you find a judge to hear an urgent application over Easter weekend? But we did. We brought an urgent application on the Saturday of Easter weekend, and the judge gave us the leeway for the Steenkamps to remain on their farm and to continue with their farming enterprise until the merits of the case could be heard. But he also gave us only 2 weeks to file that case. Now, the cost of this case was 720,000 rand. We simply did not have it. We got a firm mandate from all the members in organized agriculture to enter the fray and to stand together to fight this fight on behalf of the farming family. And then we rushed first to banks to see if we could get a loan, but we could not. Then we went to the apex organizations and we asked, we need that money to fight this very first case of expropriation. But they would not help us. And the days ticked by and we ran out of time. And shortly before the cutoff date, we had a meeting between Limpopo farmers, TAU, SA, AfriForum, and the Solidarity Movement. And clubbed together, and together, we could raise the money and file the case. This case was heard on the 3rd of September 2018. The judges blew the state. They gave cost orders against the minister, also against the registrar of deeds, and ordered him to return the title deed to the Steenkamps within 48 hours. Also gave a cost order against the Chief Land Claims Commissioner, because the judges found that there was not even such a claim, not even such a claimant community. And of course, we celebrated. We were so happy that we could slay this dragon of land grabbing, expropriating at less than market value compensation. But we ran into trouble with our mother bodies. And those of us who were involved, we then decided there must be a way in which we can give certainty to farmers that should your number come up for expropriation, there will be an organization who will back you. Hence, early in the new year in 2019, we launched our network for family farmers, Saai. Yeah, Saai was born directly from the outcomes of the first expropriation at less than market-related compensation. This was exactly the same time when President Cyril Ramaphosa said in New York that there was no such a thing as farm attacks or farm murders. It was exactly at the same time when Trump also criticized policies and actions of the ANC, just like now. And we learned valuable lessons from Akkerland. We learned that those who would appease you and say nothing to worry, there's nothing bad about this act, they will be the last to come to your assistance if you get into trouble. They never contribute to make things right again. Akkerland taught us that when it happens to you, and we never know who will be the next victim, once it happens to you, you are delivered. You cannot fight on your own against these political forces. Akkerland taught us there is only one way out of this, and that is for farmers to stand together. Akkerland taught us that everything which is promised means nothing when your number comes up. And there are so many self-interests, commercial and financial interests, corruption and nepotism, that you cannot trust the state not to do you harm, especially when there's an act to provide for it. And remember, when Akkerland was expropriated, this new act was not in place. If this act was in place, we might not have won the case. And the next case is coming up. The next Akkerland is already in the pipeline. We don't know who it will be. But you can be certain, whether you are our member or not, we and other partner organizations will be ready to assist you. Only today, an ambassador for Europe said to me, you guys are trying to block the waves of the sea with your bare fingers. You will drown. Our response was, not if there are enough of us. Not if we form a big line or 2 or 3 of them. Not if we stand together, close enough, shoulder to shoulder. This act is now a reality. Expropriation at less than market-related values is now legal. We will not be told that we should not worry about it. So let's stand together and let's make sure that we throw everything we have collectively into the pool to protect the first farmer whose name comes out of that hat to be expropriated in this way. Because we firmly believe that there is no moral grounds to put the burden of a national imperative on the shoulders of an individual citizen to foot the bill.